Hey everybody, welcome back to Mixing Music Analog and mixingmusicanalog.com and here on my YouTube channel. And this week we're going to do another gear review, a little first look. We're going to take a look at another Wes Audio compressor. This is the Wes Audio DIONE, a VCA compressor that is completely analog with digital control. We're going to listen to it on some drums, some bass, some acoustic guitar so you can get a chance to check it out. And if you like the Wes DIONE and you want to check it out for yourself, you can click the link below in the description box, and those are affiliate links for me at Sweetwater. So if you purchase the DIONE or anything at Sweetwater using those links, I get a small commission. It helps support what I do here, but you don't pay anything more. So before we get to the DIONE, if you like what you see in this video, please consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so you know when I post new content. All right, let's head on over here. Let's talk about the Wes Audio DIONE. So we've looked at some other Wes Audio products in the past. More recently, the Wes Audio NG bus compressor, which is a stereo bus compressor. You can check the link in the description box or go out to the playlist and check that out. Amazing compressor. This is the Wes Audio DIONE, which is kind of like a little mini of the Wes Audio NG bus compressor, both VCA style. And the thing I love about Wes Audio gear, as I said before, if this is your first time watching a video here, or if you never checked out any Wes Audio's products, Wes Audio gear is completely 100% analog circuitry, which is completely controlled 100% digitally by a plugin in the DAW, which we'll look at in a couple of minutes. So you can either go over to the rack and twist the knobs on the unit like you would any piece of hardware, and that will control the parameters in the plugin, or you can just sit right here in the sweet spot in front of your speakers and you can fiddle with the plugin and that will adjust the parameters of the hardware. So that's something that's super unique from Wes Audio, and it's something I wish all hardware companies would start doing. Having analog circuitry with digital control gives you the best of both worlds, and it's 100% recallable. So that means that the next time you pull up your session with the DIONE plugin, whatever settings that it was at, it will reflect that on the hardware. You don't need to take track sheets and recall and all of that. It really solves a major problem working in a hybrid setup with hardware is recall. Wes Audio has solved that problem and it sounds great. So before we listen to it, let's walk through it a bit. I'm sure you'll see the image come up on the screen here as I have a camera on the rack, but let's look at Studio One. I want to show you the actual plugin itself. So here it is right here, and it looks just like the hardware, obviously. It's a VCA style compressor, much like the SSL bus compressor-esque. Let's walk through the controls here. And as you can see, we'll start with the threshold here at the top left. As I move the threshold on the plugin, you will see also that it moves on the hardware, right? That's what makes this thing so powerful. So we have our threshold here. We have a wet-dry mix or parallel compression. Next to that, we have a makeup gain, right? Your standard suspects. Beneath that, we have a set of ratios that is selectable by this little button here. We can start with 1.5 to 1, 2 to 1, 4 to 1, 10 to 1, okay? We have our attack here in the center and our release next to that. We also have a side chain filter, so if you don't want the low end, triggering the compressor here, you can switch this all the way from 60, 90, 150. T1 and T2 is kind of a tilting, kind of a predetermined curve to it, and then you can shut it off when all the lights are not lit, okay? We'll start with it off here. Now, one of the unique things about all the Wes Audio compressors that I really, really like is their THD circuit, which is total harmonic distortion. That gives a little saturation, a little color, gives it a little bit of grit. It's not overly hyped, and we'll listen to that in these examples. Just by pressing this button, you can have it off, or you can have medium and high. Okay, we'll start with it off. Then in the center, we have our bypass button again, which makes this really great. Controlling it from the plugin is you can bypass it right from the plugin, and you can get the immediate AB on and off effect where you don't need to leave the center mixing position in the sweet spot of your workstation, as opposed to going down to the rack and bending over and hitting the bypass button. You leave the sweet spot. You really don't hear as well the audible changes that is going on. It's great that you could do it right from the plugin. And then underneath that, you'll see that we have a little USB port, a micro USB port. Now with all the Wes Audio gear, the way it's controlled by the plugin is with a USB cable that goes from the front of our compressor to a port on your computer. However, if you have a 500 rack series by Wes Audio, in my case, the Wes Audio Titan, it's a 10-space rack, which means that every Wes Audio 500 series that gets plugged in, you only need to have one USB cable that goes from the back of the Titan to your computer, and that will control all of the 500 modules that you have in your rack. However, you can use the Wes Audio 500 series with any 500 series rack. Just keep in mind that if you do that, for each one of those modules that you have, you need to have a USB cable for each one of them going from the front of the unit, like in this case the Dione, to a port on your computer. So that means if you had 2 or 3 of the Wes Audio compressors, you may need to chew up 3 USB ports on your computer, whereas if you have the Wes Audio 500 rack, you only need 1. And also keep in mind the Wes Audio 500 rack, the Titan in my case, you can put any 500 series module in it, not just Wes Audio. You just have the benefit of only having to use 1 USB cable. So I hope that makes sense. So here we go. So right now we're going to listen to this on drums. And we're going to start with it in bypass mode, and I'll bring it in and we'll start doing a little bit of compression to see how it sounds, and then I'll level match it and we'll turn it on and off. So this is a drum bus here. Here's a mix that's kind of done. It's kind of in the stages of being done. The drums are pretty much mixed. It's EQ on it. There's a little bit of compression on it from plugins in the box, and this is sitting on our drum bus right now, using it as a bus compressor. We have kick, snare, hats, 2 toms, overheads, and room mic. So let's take a listen to the Wes Audio DIONE on a drum bus. Dialing in about 4 dB of compression. I'm using a 4:1 ratio here. I'm using a 10 millisecond attack, a fast release. We're not using any sidechain filter yet. We're not using any of the total harmonic distortion circuit, and we're doing it 100% wet, and you can hear what it kind of does on and off. Now what I'll do is I will go ahead and I will add some of the THD so you can hear the differences between the 3 stages, off, medium, and high. Here we go. So I love the total harmonic distortion circuit. I'm always using it on all the Wes Audio gear that I own. I'm always using the THD because it's done in a subtle way. It's a nice, enough saturation, but it's not too much so it's hyped. In this particular case, I'd probably leave it on the medium. The high probably just gets a little bit to be too much in this particular case, but it just adds a wonderful amount of color, which makes this kind of a unique thing to Wes Audio in this particular unit, which is really, really great. Now we could, let's go ahead and we'll maybe back it down to say maybe a 2:1 ratio, maybe push the threshold a little bit more, and then also maybe use the sidechain filter to kind of, maybe at 60 Hertz so the kick drum is not triggering the compressor, and then maybe we'll get a little more compression and just see what that does. And here how it really extends the snare, the tail of the snare, the sustain of the snare really nice, and it squeezes together quite good. We're probably doing 6 dB here, maybe 8 dB of compression. Let's push it a little harder, and then let's use the wet dry mix and kind of back it off to kind of dial in some what would be maybe parallel compression. Let's see what that does. So even in using it in more of a parallel compression mode, we could dial back some of the wet and really bring some of the dry signal in there, and we can compress it pretty heavily, and it really squeezes it together and gives a lot of life to the drums. So the possibilities are endless here. I typically keep this on 100% wet, and I'm typically doing maybe 2 to 4 to 1 ratio, and I'm handing it about 4 dB or so, and that to me is usually the sweet spot on something like a drum bus. Sounds really good. Sounds really good. Love it on that. Love it on that. Okay, let's listen to, let's try some bass guitar. Let's see. So let's hold on a second here. Let me reset my board here. Okay, so let's dial in some bass here. So let's start with like a 4 to 1 ratio. Let's start with maybe like a medium fast attack here. Maybe slow up the release a little bit here. Let's take away the side chain here. So we want that low end of the bass to kind of maybe start compressing. And let's start with the total harmonic distortion off, and let's see what we get. It's very thick sounding. I really like that a lot. Let's add some of the total harmonic distortion circuit to it, and let's see what that does. So when the THD is on high, you could start to hear a little bit of crispiness on the bass. It's a really cool effect depending on how hard you want to push it. Let's push it a little harder and let's see. So you can really hear how it really brings the real low end of that bass together, kind of solidifies it a little bit. And again, using the THD circuit, it adds a little bit of crispiness to it. So again, sounds great on bass. It's a very versatile compressor, which is what I like. Love it on bass, I love it on drums. Let's try it on some acoustic guitar. Let's see what that does here. I love how it really just kind of just grabs the front of that transient on a heavily strummed acoustic guitar. It keeps those real beginning transients poking out of the mix too much, but it doesn't sound like it's overly compressed. It still sounds very natural, very organic. Let's add a little THD to that. Yeah, the THD sounds wonderful on that. Love it on acoustic guitar on the high setting. It really, again, it adds enough color, but it's not too much color. It's really, really great. So this is really a versatile compressor. I mean, I've even used it on vocals. I've used it on just about everything. And no matter what I put the Dione on, it always sounds good. It sounds great on keyboards as well. It even does really good on keys. Let's listen to keys, some piano and B3, and then we'll end this video. So let's do that, and let's get this up here on the board for you. Let's see how that sounds. So we have a combination of B3 and some piano on 2 stereo tracks filtering into this bus, just so you know what we're dealing with. So it's like a combination of both here. So let's dial it around and let's see what we get. Again, the THD circuit in the high mode, I tend to like. It really sounds great. Just like that. Again, it's compressing. You know, we're doing a fair amount of compression here, but it doesn't sound really squashed. It sounds very natural, very organic. I love the Wes Audio stuff. I have several of their pieces in my collection, as I said, and there's videos for them here on the channel. This is really great. If you're looking for an SSL style 500 series, this thing is about $1,000 less than if you bought a real SSL G-Series bus compressor, which this is kind of modeled on. And the difference here is you also have the saturation circuit, which you don't have in the regular SSL one. And again, it's completely digitally controlled, but it has that familiar VCA sound. So it sounds really great. It's really versatile. I tell all of my students and followers to consider Wes Audio if you're looking for some hardware. Not only are their prices really competitive, but again, because it's digitally controlled, it really changes the game when you're working in a hybrid fashion. And I think you can get a little bit more tonal possibilities and variations out of this because of the saturation circuit. So I hope you like this look at the Wes Audio DIONE compressor. Again, check the links in the description box below. And again, those are affiliate links. So if you check out the DIONE or anything else on the website there at Sweetwater using any one of those links below in the description box, you are helping support what I do here. And I really want to thank you in advance for doing that. Many of you, many of you have gone out and shopped at Sweetwater on my affiliate link, and I really do appreciate that because it allows me to do these things for you guys and to continue to move on and give you more education, show you more gear, and do more fun things. That really helps support what I do here, so thank you so much in advance. So let me know in the comments below, are you a Wes Audio user? Have you ever checked out any of their gear? And if so, why won't you check it out? You should check it out. What do you like about it? And if you have another style of VCA compressor in your rig. Let me know in the comments below which compressor you use. I'd love to know. So until the next video, I've been Dave with Mixing Music Analog and mixingmusicanalog.com. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.